Hello, hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is In Time. With me tonight is 𝐒𝐨𝐮𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫. 𝐒𝐶𝐮𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫, how are you?
I'm out of time. No, wait,
No,
I guess I am in time. I'm in time today. On. No, I'm on time
are we? We're
today.
actually on time, I think. Yep. Um. Yep, we are. It's amazing. um. There's just signs of the apocalypse everywhere now. Now we're actually on time, and oh, well, thank you all for joining us. This is our regularly scheduled show for once. I honestly don't know what to do with myself. I'm kind of like, wait, this is the show we would normally schedule and like talk about stuff. Dorito's been giving me a hard time when I sit there and say, oh, well, our next regularly scheduled show is on X, Y, and Z, because every time I do that, we end up going straight to breaking. So, um, oh dear Lord. I was curious because I know that you listen to some of the right wing. You listen to both the left and the right, but I catch a lot less of Fox News. I was on Fox News earlier. I forget the context. I'm sure it'll come up at some point because I remember wanting to discuss it. But you definitely have your.
You were on Fox News earlier?
Oh
Wow,
dear
they're
Lord!
really going in the trash if they're having.
Yeah, they exactly. They've got me on. They'd give me about 3 seconds to speak, and then all of a sudden, yeah. Oh, well, and apparently ABC issued a memo saying that now that they're owned by Paramount, they're going to make sure that they treat both the left and the right fairly and the same. I was like, first of all, I'd really like to see them start doing that to on Fox. That's not going to happen. But if you have to say that, it's already a concern. So let's start with the
the
Jesus.
end of the world as we know it.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious as to whether we start with. I mean, the two big issues are the shutdown and Pam Bondi had a hearing before Congress. That's not the shutdown, and also in particular one of the consequences of said shutdown that people are not talking about, which is the ability right now to add another member of Congress. Now, this isn't a normal consequence of the shutdown. This is being done deliberately. So why don't let me just get my final screen up here, and let's see, that's ABC. And yeah, I don't want to know about near-miss asteroids. Thank you, though. I've got enough on my plate. So the government shut down. Right now, the government is, as everybody knows, shut down. I think it's the 15th is when some military paychecks and retirement checks from the military are supposed to go out and aren't going to. I had thought that all of the military funding was considered essential. Apparently, it is not. Meanwhile, the House is refusing to meet for anything other than prima facie gaveling in, then gaveling out the required, okay, we met today. We just gavelled in, gavelled out, done. They don't even have a quorum for it. They are, in theory, still supposed to be doing business because they are an essential service. They are, in fact, still getting paid, but they are in protest of the Democrats holding up what they feel is the Democrats holding up the clean bill to just fund the government for another however many months until we get this argument again. They are not doing any congressional business. That includes sitting Arizona's fourth congressional Democrat. She represents the 4th congressional district Her father was the previous holder of that seat. She was elected in a special election. She has not yet been seated. Speaker Johnson was asked why he has not seated her. Now, he is required to seat her. He can do it in a prima facie a prima facie session. However, and he has done so for two Republicans already this year who won their special elections and had a special prima facie session just to get them seated so that Congress could utilize the extra two Republicans. Now that it's a Democrat, he is saying that no, the position is important enough that it requires a full session and will do so immediately. His first order of business during a full session of Congress as soon as he gets enough Democratic votes to break the filibuster. Any thoughts as to why? Do you happen to know why he's doing this?
Well, it should be fairly obvious. He doesn't want another Democrat fouling things up.
Exactly. She's going to narrow the margin, but she's also going to do something else, which is really important. Right now,
provide the last vote for to release the Epstein files.
Bingo. They have 117. They need 118 votes to release it. They have our signatures. She has said that her first order of business will be to make that signature. He has been asked explicitly if that is why he is refusing to seat her, and he has unequivocally said no. It's simply that she has not called him up and scheduled a time for the prima facie session where he will seat her.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah, please.
He is the Speaker of the House, correct, Johnson?
Yes, he is.
He ostensibly leads the House of Representatives, correct?
Ostensibly.
So that's like my boss calling me up and saying, well, you need to schedule all of the stuff for my interview of you.
That is actually,
Shouldn't he be doing that and letting you know when your seating is going to take place?
Not only that, but that is if that is the opposite of the argument that he gave 4 hours prior to another journalist, which was that he will not seat someone in a prima facie setting because they require the pomp and circumstance. It's important enough to require a full congressional session. So he would wait until then.
Of course, somebody pointed out after he made that, hey, you did this for 2 other Republicans, right? So he's like, oh shit, I guess I can't use that excuse anymore.
Yes.
So we'll come up with something else.
Yes. 4 hours it took him to come up with a completely... Oh, she hasn't called my office. That's why. They've been doing prima facie sessions. He's been able to seat her at any time. They've been doing the sessions every single day. Yeah, I mean, and the more he does this, the more I'm sitting here realizing just how bad the Epstein files have to be. We know they're bad. We know they're bad. We know prime ministers. We know princes who... Royalty. Yep. I mean, the brother of the sitting King of England is in them. We know that for a fact. Alan Dershowitz has basically said we know all the names in them, which means if we were to take a guess, probably Bill Clinton, probably Hillary in one way or another. And when I say in it, not necessarily as clients, but as having done something and been aware of illegal shenanigans and looked the other way. So Bill, Hillary, probably almost certainly engaged in illegal shenanigans, given the direct testimony of one of the victims. It's going to have to be Trump. So it's just the fact that they're going to and then you got to wonder, okay, when she finally gets seated and makes that signature, what's going to be the next trick? Pam Bondi was before Congress, the Senate today, in a Senate hearing because they're still doing work, and she was getting grilled, and basically she had nothing but one-liners and angry comebacks. Somebody asked her why it was that she was ignoring the fact that the director of, I want to say HUD, no, he's the, he's the, what is it? He's the immigration czar who was bribed by two undercover FBI agents to the tune of, I think it was about 50 grand to fast track, contracts for their fake business under the Trump administration. They have them dead to rights on this. They've got the video. It's a bribe. It's a bribe. So he asked her about that, and then she said, well, sir, I noticed that, you lean left, and, there's video footage of you outside of Congress meeting with Antifa. What she meant was liberals, but every liberal is Antifa to her. So, nobody's doing anything about that. Wow! It was an interesting... we're not going to play any of it because nothing was said by her that merits repeating anywhere on this planet. They asked her a lot of questions. All she did was evade everything on the Epstein files, on why she's not going after prosecutions that seem to be pretty clear, where they've got the evidence against members of Trump's cabinet, and why she is going after people like Comey, where there appears to be no evidence, and they have to keep firing lawyers until they find someone who's willing to indict, to actually make the argument. So, yeah, that's... Let's see, and
this is one of those. This is one of those situations. The whole Epstein debacle is that it has wrapped up so many very powerful and influential people, not just in the United States, but around the world. I mean, it could be the case. I am not convinced of this. However, just for the sake of argument, could be the case that maybe Trump's telling somewhat the truth, that he didn't really know what was going on. He probably had a suspicion. I would hope that he would have had a suspicion about the kinds of things that were going on, but didn't directly participate, maybe offered some tertiary aid here or there on some unrelated venture that was actually funneling money into this. And maybe he really does want to release them, but can't, because there are too many incredibly powerful people that say, hey, listen here, Johnny boy, let's take a little private walk over here. It's like, you see all of these people? All of these people have security. They have groups that work on their image, and they're all going to be very upset if this information comes to light. And you like being president, yeah? Yeah, you're doing a pretty good job. I would love to see you continue to do a good job. I'm not saying that's entirely likely. However, I will say that I have absolutely no doubt that there is a lot of pressure being put on by private individuals and organizations funded by those individuals to stop the release, not just Trump.
Well, and that's sort of actually my point, in as much as I think that Johnson isn't hearing just from Trump. Johnson clearly takes his marching orders from Trump, but I don't think Trump is the only one whispering in Johnson's ear that this can't be allowed to happen. Johnson is taking this too seriously, I think, for it to just be one person. I suspect there are members of Congress who are whispering in his ear, "You cannot permit this," for the exact reasons that you think. So.
I have a very hard spot. We had an entire show discussion about principles versus consequentialism.
Yes.
when do consequences matter enough to violate principle?
Yeah.
Or are consequences be damned, stick to the principle? It's like when do you do that? Because sometimes sticking to the principle, because it hasn't been followed for so long, has created a situation in which if you were to say, okay, well, we're going to adhere to this principle because that's the right thing to do, and we're making no exceptions, this is the principle, a lot of people could get hurt doing that. So do you have to consider that? And it makes me wonder, in some cases, no information is released about some things that happen because the thought process behind it is it could cause enough unstable destabilization that governments could collapse, or there could be populist uprisings against governments, that it could cause quite a swath of damage to the global stability were certain information to come out about certain people. And I have, before my little wrestling match with staring at the consequences of abiding by principle in the face, I was always like, no, abide by the principle and things will sort themselves out. It's unfortunate if people get hurt, but if you actually maintain the principle and decide we're not going to waver from this, you eliminate most of any harm in the future for it. And then I'm faced with governments could topple, revolutions could take place. It sounds hyperbolic, but things like that have absolutely happened in the past. Global stability is kind of a necessary thing for most everyday life functions to remain normal. Is it really a good if you're going to protect some evil people that did some atrocious things, but because of their power, influence, and position, making sure that that information never sees the light of the day so that everything remains stable, the status quo continues to move forward, or risk populist uprising, overthrows of governments, etc., by releasing all of the information? I kind of side on the side of, well, I want to, as Nixon put it, people to deserve to know if their leader's a crook.
Yes. Well, and unfortunately, I'm sure that argument's used. I'm sure that argument's been used in this case. I'm sure that argument has been given by Donald Trump to both Pam Bondi and Speaker Johnson. I have zero doubt in my mind. And to Patel, probably. Look, deed's done. It was a while ago. Guy's dead. We leave it or the whole country falls apart. The problem is everybody who's involved in making the decision of whether or not it's morally better to suppress something that could be so damaging, or to release it and let justice be done, though thy heavens fall. All the people who are making that decision are implicated in so they've got a reason to say it's just too darn big. I'd like to see some independent review, and that's the whole point of the Justice Department. Yeah, I mean, I remember it was a different thing with Hillary's emails, but I remember Comey saying, look, sometimes it's a judgment call on these things. She screwed up. She shouldn't have done it. But, what are you going to do at this point? And it wasn't, strictly speaking, illegal. But and it's a good question. The people making that decision are all the wrong people. The people who are most implicated and likely to be implicated in it.
I look at it this way, too. Even if let's take a completely pragmatic view of things and say what happened to the victims was atrocious, never should have happened. There aren't enough of them, and not enough, people, mostly nameless, have been hurt to justify risking thousands of other people being hurt in potential unrest. So even if you're taking a completely pragmatic view of it and saying, look, the risk of harm, because, populist uprisings, overthrows of governments, people generally die during those, or at least hurt. So, and a lot of secondary effect
Yes.
pain is going to be inflicted on populations. And they're going to say, well, we're going to take emotion completely out of this. We're going to take all humanity out of this. And we're just going to say the harm that has been done is less than the potential harm that could happen. So it sucks, and sorry for these people. It should never have happened, but they're just simply going to have to suffer silence. Since this does span more than just the United States. Even in that case, they still have to look and bring into the equation, well, but there's a problem, because events like this have grown to the point that this is almost a tipping point of belief in the rule of law. At some point, even if you say this could cause popular uprising, this could cause overthrows of governments, this could cause a lot of global instability by releasing all of this information. Not releasing it may cause the same thing, because you have eroded over the years, the faith and belief that the rule of law actually exists, and this could tip you over the edge, and you could end up with those same consequences anyway.
And you had mentioned this, which I think was an interesting observation, which is you've sent the message to future leaders that all you have to do is make sure you screw up badly enough, and people have to protect you from the consequences. And that is not a message you want to be sending to your leaders.
Yeah, we have already, started down that path, because that was in relation to not just criminal activities, but the fact that we've already done that with some of the largest corporations in the United States, making horrendously bad decisions, letting greed take hold of their common sense, because normalcy bias kicks in and it's like, oh, it's going to be fine. It'll just keep going. Not really. I'm making too much money now to really care the consequences. I don't really think they're going to happen. Then they happen. And what did we do? We issued TARP, and we saved most of them at quite an expense, I might add, a hellacious expense. And there, again, that purely pragmatic, do we risk a full economic meltdown? Could that cause that? Because that would certainly cause a hell of a lot of damage too. Or do we bail them out of their stupid ass decisions? Oh, and I would have been way more forgiving of the government stepping in and saying, yeah, we're going to do these things. They're completely anathema to, what the United States should be used to stand for, at least. This is a terrible thing. We're rewarding really bad behavior. Had they actually done something to prevent it from continuing or happening again, which they did not do, because I think too many politicians are in too many pockets of lobbyists. So, of course, a lot of these companies don't want to actually face the consequences of their actions. I mean, their job is to kind of try to avoid that. So, in any of the kind of stuff that was actually passed to try and stop another 2007 from happening, has been completely watered down or completely removed at this point. And so the situations are ripe to happen again. They can happen again.
Yeah.
So we've already told them that we'll bail you out, because the risk to everybody else, because that's how egregiously bad these things are. It poses such an existential risk to everybody else that we're going to go ahead and save you from your own foolishness, which of course just encourages more foolishness, because there's no real consequence.
Renegade Chungus sent 5 in-time memberships. Thank you, good sir. I sincerely appreciate it. I don't want to get too much into we actually should do a show on that collapse, because I think that's one that's not particularly well understood. But the TARP money all did get repaid. It just took about 10 years. But I don't think it all got repaid. I think it was actually about 90% got repaid. And yeah, the government did take action with oh my God, the Dodd-Frank, and but yeah, it's all. I mean, things are worse now. So by the way, you are now a member. FYI, you received you were gifted a membership too. So thank you, Chungus.
Well, hey, thank you for inviting me into your lovely family here, and it's great to suddenly be a member, and
yeah, now
we can collaborate in the future.
Yeah. Well, now we'll have to make you start following some of the rules. So from now on, no more making
God,
fun
no.
of. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh God. Chungus knows
Can I
about the.
retract that?
Okay. Yeah. Can we undo Chungus's? Is there a way to give back a gifted?
It's that it's that for the better. It's for the better, the greater good argument again. There, it's like, look, I know that there were 4 other people that were also gifted, but they're just going to have to suck it up to because the consequences of me having a
Well,
membership
it's
are
not you.
far outweigh.
It's not you having the membership. I really don't care what happens to you. It's about the he's got he's figured out that now he can do the little my face emojis that somebody
I know those are
made
great.
up. Son of a. We're gonna have to rethink the modding policies here on In Time. All right. So
yeah, getting a little bit of a feel,
yeah.
just based off of like some of the surrounding principles involved in this entire situation. I think that some of the most corruption you're going to find in the United States are in boardrooms and Congress, the federal government.
Yes.
And I don't even mean like malicious corruption, but still corruption. It's like, people genuinely wanting to do their job and do a good thing and try and get more money for this cause, still end up doing things to further that we would consider corrupt. So, the organization seeks to perpetuate itself. If it does its job right, it's no longer needed. So, it can't really be allowed to do its job correctly. Otherwise, they won't have a job anymore. And there's always more to be done. It's a cesspool. And I don't think that it's got too many vested interests, powerful interests that are tugging it this way and that way. Plus, there's also the idea of political brinksmanship that is being introduced here too. Well, not introduced, being practiced here.
So
it's a mess.
It is. It is, and it's part of also too why. So it's why the files aren't being released. It's why and this is an interesting. So with the government closed, and Broadcast Cat brought this up, and I think this is important to bring up, which is already there are flight delays. Already, Boston, Newark. Let's see. I want to see the list of Boston, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Dallas, Newark. Are all seeing hours, have lost hours on Tuesday where they basically had to shut down the control tower. They're saying now that they don't have enough controllers for at least part of the evening shifts, and they are expected to lose a significant portion over due to illness and ones that are going to refuse to work. So we're going to see a dramatic drop in air traffic control. We're also going to see a number of checks that are supposed to go out. Now, Trump has said that he's going to use the tariff money to ensure that families who need food stamps are going to continue to get those. I'm like, the fact that he even has to say that and that's coming out of the tariff, we'll get into parsing the idiocy of
that, and I don't even think that's legal.
It's all the government funding. That's like when they say, well, we're going to pay for we're going to allow gambling in a state that doesn't allow gambling. The government can gamble. We will do the lottery, and the winnings that the state gets will go to schools, and that's how they make it palatable. Except what they then do is reduce the school funding by the amount that the lottery goes into. So it's all the same money. It goes to the government. It doesn't matter if it came from the tariffs or it's the government's money. But I am going to say this. I think the Democrats are going to lose this one. They are holding it up because they do not want subsidies for Obamacare to end. Here's the thing. Right now, the Republicans are seen as causing this, but historically, basically every single time there's a shutdown, the party that is making the request for changes, which in this case is the Democratic Party, is seen as the guilty party. They're seen as taking the economy hostage. And it happens, the Republicans always get smacked when they do this with, the debt ceiling, which has nothing to do with spending. It's authorizing paying the bills we already have. Well, unless we cut spending, it's like, oh, you're taking it hostage. The Republicans end up taking the hit. They might get something out of it, but politically they end up taking the hit. Right now, Republicans are taking the hit for the shutdown because they are the incumbency. Having said that, the Democrats will take a hit and take it soon, and I don't see any way forward because the Republicans don't have to give this up. There's no set of circumstances under which they have to give this up or negotiate. Having said that, most of those subsidies, do you want to know the color of the states that they tend to go to?
I'm going to say they're green and brown and probably some blues for the water. And it's autumn now, so there's probably yellow and oranges.
Only room for one smartass on the show. Note to self. Okay. Red states.
But we still do have space for a dumbass, so your spot is secure.
My spot. I walked into that one. Yes, I feel
it is it's an interesting thing because you have when it comes, you talk about red states or blue states, and I get people arguing about all this stuff. And I don't necessarily think that it's so much about red or blue. You have urban versus suburban versus rural, and the poor versus middle class versus wealthy. It divides down much more neatly along those lines. The poor tend to use a hell of a lot of subsidies from the government.
Yes.
Obviously, because they're poor. That's what those programs were ostensibly created to help. And when you start getting into the more rural parts of America, the less population density, there's less economic opportunity in those areas. And so the people there tend to be poorer. And they tend to use a lot more government assistance. And then there's a lot more opportunities and availability in cities. That's the whole draw of living in a city. So that's why you end up in places like Washington, where Eastern Washington, a very conservative part of the state, versus Western Washington, which is a very small percentage of the state, but has like 90% of the population. I don't think it's quite that high. I think it's like 78% of the population all live around the Puget Sound. So almost all of the, proportionally, I think it's like 68% of all welfare programs, dollars paid out, actually go to the eastern part, because there's not very much economic opportunity in that area. There's a hell of a lot higher rate of being poor. So I think some of the different policies can help, but a lot of that I'm not entirely convinced is just, California's got a lot more programs available, for example, but then you get into a whole bunch of other arguments. So I do find it interesting that when a lot of your constituents are benefiting from something, that you would think that it's a good idea to directly target them to feel some pain by cutting that stuff, then recognizing that, hey, this is where your bread is buttered and you might want to consider that. And Trump has this really bizarre way of being able to both kind of cut off support for something and still retain support of the people that he just directly impacted. Is amazing to me. Soybean farmers, for example, are hurting badly, yet most farmers, overwhelming majority of farmers, are still supporting Trump. And it's shocking to me sometimes. And this is coming from somebody who really doesn't want the federal government involved in welfare programs at all.
Yep. Well, the thinking that I can tell is these subsidies are going to expire if the Dems lose their position. I don't think the Dems can hold their position, but the people who are going to most want to continue these subsidies are a lot of people on the other side of the aisle. So my argument is that I think the Dems should fold. I think the Dems should say, oh, and I know that there's going to be a lot of blowback from the Dems side, but what they're looking for, I think they're eventually going to get, because once they expire, a lot of people are going to go up to their congressman and say, why they expire? The left is going to say, well, because the right wouldn't let us. We tried, and then they blamed us for shutting down the government. We, if they want to work with us, we'd be delighted to bring those back. And now you're looking at a chance of getting those back again. So
here's the problem with that idea.
Yes.
To you and I, who are somewhat rational human beings who can sit down and look at a topic and not be sucked into an ideology so much, and can sit back and actually recognize when somebody's making a dumb play, even if it's for the right choice, the right reasons.
Yes.
And say, yeah, that's going to backfire. I know you're doing it, and it's more of a principled stand. I understand why you're doing this. You're trying to help. You really are. And you know that you're going to help. Yet the way that you're going about this is very damaging to you. And so we can kind of see that. The Democratic Party has a really bad time messaging. Every time I hear them trying to put out messaging on things like this, they're terrible at it. They suck. They end up saying something where it's like, I understand what you're trying to say, but you don't quite understand what that really just sounded like. Maybe you should have thought that through before you said it that way, or even brought that particular thing up at all. They're just bad. There's some good people out there that raise some really good points. Unfortunately, we don't get to see them in front of the camera all that often, and we end up with people making really dumb statements that backfire. So they're not good at messaging this. So I agree with you. If they were to say, okay, this shutdown is starting to cause a lot of havoc. We tried. We don't have the ability to end it. They're not going to budge, and they're in a comfy position where they don't really have to. And so we have to face the fact that we're now holding things up for something that we're very unlikely to get. So we'll go ahead and capitulate, and let's get the government funded, and then point out constantly with good messaging, hey, noticing your check's a little bit lighter, noticing you're having a little bit more time getting things covered under your medical policies, or maybe you don't have medical at all anymore, or the big price jump in all of the premiums that you were paying to cover your family and now you can't. It's like, we tried to help you. We really did. We tried to get those things stayed in there. This is purely the Republicans that have decided to let these things, and to be honest, they were temporary measures to begin with. But there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government policy.
Yeah.
So, if they could message that right, I have no faith that they would. And healthcare is such a tangled, complicated, horrible weave of issues. I have a really hard time taking a position on it, but just trying to look at it, from the messaging standpoint of who's going to win on messaging. I think they could. I think you're right. They could win that one out if they get the appropriate messaging. And I don't have much confidence that they would.
That's a fair point. So here's what I'd like to wrap this up, and then I want to go on to the deployments, because there's some stuff happening.
We spent 40 minutes already talking about this one thing that was supposed to be like a 15-minute. Leave it to me to derail and go around all these little potholes around the middle of the rabbit hole instead of focusing on just that one rabbit hole.
Definitely some interesting points, and we do need to do the show on the 2007-2008 catastrophe. So it looks like we are not going to find out, because right now the Democrats have shown no signs of caving. One has caved. He is now getting primaried. Just for saying that he's going to, and I understand why. He has said he's going to vote to end the shutdown. I think they need 5 votes. One has caved. He is now getting primaried, and that is a message to the others: don't cave. If 4 more cave, they will have enough to overcome the filibuster, and the government will be moving again. They will clear the bill, which is basically just a continuing resolution, and we have to go through all this again. I forget when, but I think it funds it for like 3 months. So we will see. Having said that, we also all expected massive layoffs when this happened, and those have not come. At this point, we think the Republicans are backing down off of that. There was a anonymous source from inside the White House says that there is an increasing acknowledgement that Trump has made it look like they are excited to fire people, which he has. He said, the Democrats have given me everything I wanted by doing this because I now have the excuse to fire loads of people and they're going to be layoffs, not furloughs. He's also said, by the way, that he's not going to give back pay to anybody who has been furloughed during this or who has worked without pay, which is like TSA and a number of other people. He's not going to give back pay to any of them. Johnson has come out and corrected him and said, of course, they're all going to get back pay once this is sorted. Don't be silly. The microphone didn't pick that up correctly. He said he were going to pay them. So there is some disagreement as to what payments are going to be coming. Having said that, it looks like at this point, the mass firings that all of us were expecting, Doge 2.0, are on hold explicitly because Trump got so excited about it, and now they're like, it's going to make it look like we want to fire people, we want to put people out of business. Exactly, it's what you said. So
messaging. Love them or hate them. Republicans, I think, are way better at messaging, especially to their base, than Democrats are.
I completely agree. The first one we've had in a while that was any good at it was Obama. So
he was great at it.
Yep. So apparently, Republicans have decided to entrench. They are going to double down on the shutdown and wait long enough till they feel they can blame the Democrats for the firing, saying that they had to fire because but they're not going to do it right away. I mean, Trump was like, I'm starting tomorrow, and we all took him at his word, which we should know better by now. But he apparently we're looking at weeks before they're going to start firing anybody because they want to be able to blame the Democrats, and they think that's how long before they can do it. The Democrats, meanwhile, believe that this will, currently, the Republicans are being blamed. I don't think it's going to stay that way. That's just historically not how this works. But they seem to think that it is going to stay that way and that their hand will get stronger if they wait, so they are not budging. So as of this moment, we believe that the shutdown is going to continue for an extended period of time, and it's not going to be until people really get outraged at the loss of services that one party or another is going to be blamed enough to fold. So we're not going to see.
People are going to be impacted by a loss of revenue. And the people who are generally impacted the most by this are the people least able to handle it. They're the most vulnerable people that tend to hurt the worst and first.
Yep, which is always. Let me just see. It was what was the name? I had forgotten her name. Anita. Representative-elect Adlita 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴, who is a representative-elect, and she cannot be seated until Johnson swears her in, and he says he's willing to do it. He told CNN today he will swear her in as soon as she wants. This is after earlier today also saying that he's not going to swear her in without a full ceremony, so we'll see. Pro forma. I was saying prima facie. Yeah, it's a pro forma. So prima facie, pro forma. My Latin is rusty. So we'll see. Hopefully they're going to push it and get her in. If they do, expect not a whole heck of a lot to happen right away because the government's shut down. So Pam Bondi is going to say, well, we can't release the Epstein files because the DOJ is shut down, which is a load of horse shit, but that's what she's going to say. So, meanwhile, according to CBS 4 hours ago, the Texas National Guard deployed between 300 and 400 guardsmen to Chicago. This came as a surprise to both the mayor and the governor, Governor Pritzker, went on CNN to describe his feeling on it. We are going to play that clip in its entirety for you, as well as a few others, as to why this is such a problem for so many people.
Governor Pritzker, what's your response to Secretary Noem? And as a practical matter, since you oppose this troop deployment, is there anything you can do?
Well, good morning, Jake. And let me just say that the secretary doesn't know what she's talking about. She frankly says that people are clapping. They're not. They're booing her on the street, and they're booing ICE and CBP. They're marching, the CBP marching on a beautiful Sunday in Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. They're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. So you can imagine people are getting detained. They're getting arrested, U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
Now, I think there he was talking about ICE as opposed to the National Guard, who have, I think they already had National Guard. Let's see. So the National Guard has arrived today at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. A judge has blocked the deployment to Oregon. This is twice that the same judge has blocked the deployment, saying that no National Guard can be deployed there. Illinois, Oregon, and California are all suing the Trump administration for these deployments. Meanwhile, Greg Abbott is saying you can have even more of my guys, send them anywhere you want, and suggested that he would actually send them there on his own if he wanted, which, yes, would be, I think, an act of civil war. Meanwhile, we have in, in California and in Chicago with the ICE deployments, we have cases of swatting, where what's going on is slumlords who want to clear out their areas, and this is one of the things that he was talking about happening in Chicago, call up ICE and say, here's a tip, there's undocumented immigrants in this building. They go, they clear the entire building, they then lock up the building, lock everybody out, and then say your rent is going up $200 if you want to get back in. So this is a process that is being abused. That's one of the reasons that people don't want the police there. Now, I used to think very, very highly of the police until some person, literally some person, an Isandering person, got me hooked on these audit videos, and I started to see and in rural areas, in suburban areas, in major cities, watching them plant evidence, watching them get caught doing all sorts of, and it was an eye-opener. And we have the video of the shooting of, and this was in a suburban, a high-end, white neighborhood. They shot down a 14-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid coming home from his girlfriend's. Officer pulls him over for flashing his headlights. That's it. That's what the officer pulled him over for. Ended up shooting him in the back. Killed the kid. Not guilty. Officer got it. So it's officers are just
tap dancing around the actual point with extra rabbit holes.
Well, no, because we're about to show the footage.
That's right. We're dipping in. You're gently segueing directly in. You're just
yes, sir.
Lifting it You're drifting the program right into that
This,
hole.
yeah, this is what happens when you miss staff meetings.
Well, that's what happens when you don't inform me that we're having staff meetings. So
I
miss staff meetings.
I don't inform you that we're
It's
going to have
almost like
staff.
I'm not staff here at all.
If I informed you of our staff meetings, you might actually attend. If you promised me you wouldn't attend, I would inform you of all our staff meetings quite regularly.
All right. Well, you keep drifting into that hole.
All right. Well, this is from actually 4 years ago. Not 4 years. Is it 4 years ago? I think this was the Floyd riots here, but this was one of the most interesting things caught on camera. This was 4 officers that were destroying their own police car. So they made it look like, and they later filed a report saying that their windshield had been bashed in and they destroyed their windshield themselves. Now let's see, what was... This happened 3 nights ago. This is a 19-year-old woman who is arguing with police and telling them why she thinks they should not be there. Let's listen in.
That they created. Oh shit. I saw you last time.
You're actually fucking stupid. We're gonna body check it because what? This megaphone?
Who is talking to you? No. Hey, this is the line that they created. Oh shit. Laughing.
All right, so that was the bear mace that they use. It was right in the face. She was 19 years old. I guess as Andrew was not able to see that. I may be able to fix that so that you can see it. I can give it a shot. We're going to play this. Hold on a sec. Nobody was able to see it. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm watching the show
right.
just to monitor, and
Yep.
the video did not come up on the.
I saw you last time.
You're actually fucking stupid. We're gonna body check it because what? This megaphone?
Who is talking to you? No. Hey, this is the line that they created. Oh shit. Laughing.
And it looks like maybe also the audio. Is it that people are having trouble with the audio as well? Yes, I forgot I turned off. We're going to play that one more time so you can hear the audio. You can see she's arguing. Yeah, you can see she's arguing, and then I'll play the other one as well. Which you shouldn't argue with cops in general. That's a bad idea in my view, but you absolutely legally can do that, and she can say, go fuck yourself, and she can say anything she fucking wants to them, short of an actual threat, which she doesn't do. She also does not make contact with any of the officers. They're actually backing up, and the one who decided to get involved, and this is the problem, they don't have sufficient training. They're bringing up these people, and they're subject to human emotions just like everyone else. The guy who wanted to get involved probably should not be an officer. Everybody else seemed to be, well, they weren't handling it great, but they weren't escalating. Somebody who had no business getting involved just walks up, he's got the mace with him, and hits her with it.
That they created. Oh shit. I saw you last time.
You're actually fucking stupid. We're gonna body check it because what? This megaphone?
Who is talking to you? No. Hey, this is the line that they created. Oh shit. Laughing.
And apparently, yes, they were laughing, as were, we're gonna cover another one. Okay, this is, did you guys end up seeing this one? This is,
No.
the police bashing.
None of the videos.
Okay.
None of the videos that you went to play up till that point has actually played.
Mitch said, he walked up with intent. Exactly. He already knew he was going to do it. So that was the police bashing their own car. Let's see. That was the Mace one. All right. We reported earlier on an incident where ICE had been protecting a facility. Somebody drove up, rammed an ICE vehicle. They fired a shot. They hit a woman who was armed. She, however, was able to drive herself. And this was, we covered this on probably Friday. We covered it the day it happened, and we just said this is what's been reported as having happened. The one suspicious thing about all of this is, why wasn't she charged with the weapon? Why did she go herself? Why didn't an officer, I mean, they could have taken an ambulance, but you'd think if she had a weapon, if she was menacing enough that they had to fire at her, she's got to be on a weapons violation. Either that or she's got a permit for it, and she wasn't. So there was something more to that. What we've now found is video that purports to be of that incident. So the incident, after people started asking questions, they said, well, we were actually rammed by 10 cars. Doesn't make a lot of sense. It was then, no, we weren't rammed by 10 cars. We were surrounded and boxed in by 10 cars, and we had to fire to get out. So 10 cars just zoomed up around them in a coordinated thing, boxed them in, and they fired to get out. So the story keeps changing. This footage presumably is of that incident. You will see what happens. We'll play it and then we'll talk about it. Now, I don't think there's audio with this one. All right. So there's a white pickup truck. And apparently what happened was the ICE vehicle was not really surrounded. It was in traffic. It was LA traffic, which can be pretty bad. There's a movie called LA Story where people start shooting at each other, and they may have seen that and thought it was a documentary. I don't know. But you're not really supposed to shoot people who are in your way on the freeway. Now, we have seen footage. We've also got that footage of the guy who just randomly started firing from, wow. But here's what happens. In this footage, what we do know, so far we believe all of the cars are completely unrelated. This is regular freeway traffic. That's all this is. That ICE vehicle didn't suddenly get surrounded. They get impatient with the traffic, and at this point, it looks like if the white pickup truck wanted to go into oncoming traffic, they could move out of the way. The ICE vehicle gets impatient and rams them repeatedly. The people in the vehicle get so scared, as I would do if I was getting rammed, that they then try to flee. This means that they are fleeing the scene of a crime or fleeing the scene of an accident. I don't know what this means to the ICE officers, but they decide to engage. They follow, do a pit maneuver, knock the vehicle out of commission and off onto the sidewalk or parking area, and a second ICE vehicle comes in where they fire a shot into that vehicle, hitting the woman. We'll see that part again. So here it is from the beginning. There's the second ICE vehicle. They've knocked it off now into the ditch. There is a woman who, as we understand it, is licensed to carry a firearm. She had it in the vehicle. She gets shot. Yep. She requested an ambulance. They did not provide one for her. According to her, someone else, one of the bystanders, somebody who was in one of the other cars, had to actually drive her to the hospital because she could not drive, where she was admitted and listed in fair condition. We're waiting to learn more, but our understanding is this is that incident, which means the entire explanation given by ICE was complete BS. Now, to some extent, it's BS that makes sense to me, in as much as I understand, like, okay, if one of them tells their buddy, oh yeah, we rammed this vehicle who was ahead of us, and then he made a run for it, we've all played that, whatever, the telephone game, that guy goes, oh yeah, somebody rammed my buddy. He was in his ICE vehicle and they got rammed and they had to shoot someone, but this just gets right back to the fundamental problem with why having people who are not trained, who are very hostile. A lot of these are January 6ers, by the way, as well, who've been known to do things like insurrection. Any thoughts on this before we move on this one?
Yeah, go ahead and restart the video.
Okay. I can make it a little bigger too. Why don't I make it bigger, as big as I can make it?
Okay. So here we are. We're stopping. Notice there's a gap in front of the white truck. The white truck is hitting its brakes. It appears that this random black vehicle behind you is crawling right up your ass. And so in heavy traffic like this, you tap the brakes a few times. That's what it appears from the video that she did. Then, because you can see the black car behind them, the SUV has to abruptly hit its brakes several times. And so that's what it appears to be. And then they get mad at this and they literally ram her. Well, she takes off because, you got somebody in a black tinted out SUV behind you, just rammed you, and you're trying to get away. And so she pulls out and takes off while this person appears to be wedged into the back of her pickup truck, like still pushing her. It's hard to tell from the angle whether they're still actually making contact, but she tries to get away. She tries to swerve out of them. You can see they follow her across or push her across. It's hard to tell from that angle exactly.
It does look. It looks like they're actually underneath, because you can see the back end moving. Anyways, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Please continue.
Well, and that one where you were playing there, I don't think that the SUV's actually made contact yet. I think that that's her hitting the brakes. She's jabbing the brakes at slow speed, and it causes now it looks like he bumped on her. She's got a clear way to try and get away from these people. There are no emergency lights on these vehicles that I can see. I mean, they don't show the front of them, but usually when you turn on emergency lights on a unmarked vehicle, they're everywhere. They point in all directions. So there's no way for her to even know who it is behind her. There's no emergency lights. It appears she takes off, tries to get away from them, and whether they pushed her off the road or if she just tried to dart because oncoming traffic was going to block her, and so she tried to get over into that construction zone to get away from them. Well, anyway, they followed behind her and then rammed up behind her again. Then you see the second car come flying in, and then the first car tries to back away from her, and they actually run into each other. the two SUVs run into each other.
Oh,
And then the first car turns and pulls out and tries to get around her, and that's where you can see where it got stuck in the construction and the curbing on the road that they were pouring on concrete. It got stuck in there and couldn't get actually in front of the vehicle, and it appears that they shot her at that time. And it's like this, from trying to be as charitable as possible to just watching what happened. That's what it looks like happened. And like, she probably has absolutely no idea who these people are. They're trying to, bully her forward. She hits the brakes a few times, pisses them off, because I can't imagine a rational, sane person would follow somebody out into traffic or push them out into oncoming traffic without some sort of emotion being at play, probably frustration or anger, I would say. So it looks like they escalated this whole thing from somebody being upset that you're so close to them that they can't even see your hood anymore, and tapping the brakes. That is common. I deal with that all the time being out on the road. It's a kind of a, hey, get off my ass response in traffic, to suddenly, which unfortunately there are plenty of examples that anytime you anger law enforcement, they escalate. There are plenty of videos of them doing that. Not saying it's the majority of interactions, but there are plenty of interactions where that happens. Spend a day on the internet looking at it. You'll be shocked.
yeah.
And it looks like they completely escalated. It's like, oh, you're going to brake check me? Well, check this out. And you can't actually see down, after she gets stopped, you can't see what happens after that to precipitate being shot. But the fact that she wasn't charged with anything weapons related, I mean, if she had pulled and brandished a gun, that's a felony. That is aggravated assault. Yeah. So, the only thing I can think of is she may have done that, but she has a self-defense claim there because they haven't identified themselves. They're not marked vehicles. There are no emergency lights on these things, and they rammed her out of traffic and then chased her through oncoming traffic. So she may have gotten out of the vehicle or pointed a gun out of the window or held the gun out of the window saying, hey, get the hell away from me. I will do. She's in fear for her life at this point because she has absolutely no idea who they are.
Yep.
And then they shoot her. So, there's either the gun wasn't in play at all, and they just announced, oh, well, she was armed after the fact to make it sound worse and make them sound better, or she did somehow brandish the firearm in some way in a legally justifiable self-defense, which is why she's not being charged with anything. Yep. But we can't actually see what happened down there from this video. But it all looks like, I guess you could you could claim that, well, she started it by, hitting the brakes in front of them because they were crawling up her ass, clearly crawling up her ass. But they absolutely escalated that beyond all reason.
All right, I'm gonna play a few more. Who's the head of ICE again? Naomi, or no? What's her name? I have now forgotten. Somebody in the live chat will remind me, the head of ICE. All right, so this happened in a court in New York. It was on they were just coming out of Kristi Noem. That's correct. Kristi Noem has ordered all ICE officers to start wearing body cams. They are not the kind of body cams that have the that are used for actually like protecting the agent and protecting the public. They're the kind that are used for filming movies. And she is purportedly preparing a video for how awesome ICE is and ICE's best moments and takedowns. And so they are using these videos during raids to show how awesome ICE is. I swear to God, I I wish I could say I was making that up. I'm not that funny. She's putting body cameras on for use in promotional material. This is a New York courthouse. And they are just coming out of immigration, an immigration hearing.
Get out the fucking elevator!
Wow! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Who is that? Yeah, give him some room, everybody.
Back up. Leave your hands.
Okay, nice and slow, but okay. Just taking your blood pressure.
You want to go with the... Yeah, I got it. Oh, you want
Yeah, if you want to help me right now.
All right. All right, you guys good?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
The a reporter, the person who was most injured was a journalist. He apparently fell back and hit his head against the wall. The Jerry Garcia looking guy is a photographer. He's a freelance photographer, has worked for the AP, New York Times, and apparently was nominated for a Pulitzer. And the woman, well, there was another journalist who was the woman who had the photos, who was also, she was actually, it looks like she was accidentally hit by the Jerry Garcia looking guy. No, there was another officer who shoved her. So she, let's see, yeah, that guy, this guy, right? No, there you go. That guy right there, with the short sleeve shirts, shoves her. So they're pushing him out of the way. There you go. So she got shoved both hands. Just, yeah, it's people wonder why.
Appears to have been shoved into the guy behind her, and he cushioned her fall, and he's the one that smacked his head on the concrete or on the tile floor.
Yep. And there was no reason. There was no hostility. They didn't like having the. I'm going to play this one more time, and then we'll go. That clicking sound. I mean, and these are masked men. No ID. Take him, and then just shove her. Yeah.
It's
and people
playing.
are. Oh, once again. Yeah, there we go.
Get out the fucking elevator!
Wow! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Now here's the problem. And this is what, they say, don't resist, but if you're pulling somebody's arm and trying to arrest them, and if you just grab it violently, it's your instinct to resist. All human beings are going to, they ask him to move, and before he can respond to the request, before he can even process that he's been asked to move, they start to shove him. When somebody starts to shove you, you put your foot back and start to brace yourself against the shove. So they just ripped him out. They didn't give him a chance to nothing. Meanwhile, in Portland, this happened. What's been happening now in Portland, they've been trying to this is an ICE facility, and they're staying on the sidewalk, and there's been a line painted not to cross the line. So if anybody crosses this line, they're going to get shot by pepper balls and all this other stuff. In this instance, well, let's just take a look.
Fucking fascists!
All right, you can hear one of them starting to cough because of the pepper, and one of the officers ends up laughing and saying, "I guess it's working." They're shooting at them even though they are legally on the sidewalk. This is ICE, by the way. This is not the police who would normally say you have to get off the sidewalk or do what, and they're not breaking any laws. This is another one. Let's see. This is. I'm trying to remember this one. I don't know why I can't remember this one. Oh, yes. So this is protests at the ICE facility. The ICE facility has said that they don't want any protesters on the in front of the building. So they used smoke and tear gas to knock everybody back more than a block. Again, this is ICE. This is not police that are doing this. Let me skip through this one unless I don't think this is the one. This is okay. That's the ICE facility right there. And like I was saying, people wonder why. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is kind of funny until you think about it. That is a Halloween costume, and I've seen those. They're new. They're really kind of cool. What they do is they have an air pump in them, and it pumps air into it so it inflates. And this is an inflated dinosaur. Now, the air pump needs to, it's not a perfect seal, so it needs to keep blowing in air so it stays inflated because air is constantly leaking out. But it is, in essence, a closed system. This officer here actually sprays into the vent, meaning that the person is now going to be contained inside a pepper-sprayed bubble. So let's watch that again. And the vent is marked orange deliberately so that nobody messes or screws with the vent. So now this guy is that just gets sucked right into the costume. It's a Halloween costume. He's not doing this to be like a cosmonaut and shielded against. He's not wearing a mask to protect himself against pepper spray. The pepper spray was literally put right into the vent, which sucks the air right into the costume. And that was obviously deliberate. This one is another interesting one, and then I'll pause to see 𝐒𝐨𝐻𝐿 take on. Actually, we've just got pictures left after this, so I'll do 2 pictures after this, and then we'll take. If you look closely here, I may do one of the bigger ones. One of the canisters is fired directly into the belly of one of the women. Let's push this up again a little bigger. You can see it's a yellow one. Boom, she gets hit right in the stomach and falls. I don't know how much force those things are propelled with, but I've seen people, they're huge guns that fire these canisters into the air, and I've seen them, fire them, and they go way over the crowd into the back, and he fired it deliberately right into her stomach. That was not an accident. That was not a... And she's right there. You can see, boom, he walks right up to her, looks at her, lifts the gun right to her stomach, and then fires it. Let me see. Actually, let's just see if we can, because you can see right before the canister goes off. You can see. No, it's not going to let me pause it at just the right moment, unfortunately. See that one more time. I mean, you can tell he knows exactly what he's doing. And just walks away. This is the arrival earlier today of Texas National Guard in Chicago, and this from ABC News: among the military officers whom WLS recorded video. The Army Reserve Center on Tuesday was two-star Major General. Let me get this on so I can see it better. 𝐒𝐚𝐬, the Deputy Commanding General of the U.S. Army of the North, obviously very delighted to be in Chicago. So that is what we have. Xandering, any thoughts?
It's like you could have gone out on the internet and looked for any video that says, police escalating or, using excessive force to try and disperse crowds, and that would have popped up with all of them.
Yeah.
Well, and some of them, like the guy that walks up and fires the smoke canister directly, those things are propelled with enough force to literally break bones. So to fire it into her point blank like that, I mean, that is like against every single doctrinal use of those canister launchers out there. That's like a big no-no. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You could kill somebody doing that. They say, well, in the midst of a riot and you're shooting them, down the street or whatever, you're supposed to try and keep them kind of lower to the ground, and so you're not beating people in the head with them, because that will kill them. He walks just right up and pops one off right into her center mass. That's that is a callous disregard for the public.
And I've seen there is footage from the other side of them doing good work and all of this other stuff, and I'm sure in many cases they do. But this entire thing has been fabricated, and that's what the judge, that was the word used by the judge in regards to the Portland deployment. It is not a war zone. What's making it a war zone is having people there who will deploy one of these things in a woman's belly. What's making it a war zone is the people who are shoving people out of elevators because they can. There was no other reason to do it. Or shooting people in road rage incidents. That's ICE officers shooting someone in a road rage incident. They're becoming war zones. That's why people object. That the left doesn't love lawlessness or whatever it is that they're saying on Fox News about how, if you support the law, you must be for more police officers. No, because they're human beings too, and only they're armed and I'm not. So, and some of them seem to have a really bad attitude and like killing people. So, yeah. At this point, I think Canada should build a wall. Yeah. Well, yeah, but you still have to make Mexico pay for it.
Of course.
Of course.
Mexico's always got to pay for it.
Yeah. They're going to pay for it one way or another.
It's like in the rules somewhere.
Yeah. So we should write.
I say that in a mocking, jesting way, but it wouldn't surprise me if there actually is some memo that Donald Trump wrote out that said, Mexico must pay it.
Mexico's going to pay everything. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. So that's it. We're going to see where the shutdown is going to go, but I think the shutdown is going to start to cause a lot more pain very quickly. Airports are going to start to suffer dramatically. They've already had some. You ain't seen nothing yet. And I think vets are going to start not getting their payments. A lot of payments are going to shut down. And both sides are looking for a political win from this, and that means it's going to last a little while. So martial law next. That's, and Trump has looked into that. Trump has talked about the Insurrection Act. Curiously, he has not yet lost Chicago. Illinois has filed. Chicago has joined it to block any deployments, but that hasn't been heard yet. It's only the Oregon one that was heard, and the troops that are now in Chicago were originally slated for Portland. But when Trump lost there, and it's interesting, so far he's following the law, but I suspect he's following the judges. So he's doing roughly what the judges tell him to do, other than the cute end run with getting the deploying from another state. But all that notwithstanding, he does seem to generally be following them more than he has in the past and more than I'd expected. But I think that's because he believes, and probably justifiably, that if this ends up before SCOTUS, he's going to win. So he would rather do this the somewhat longer way by just getting denied in courts and then appeals until it gets to the shadow docket and then win there, and then it's done. It's over across all 50 states. He's just won. Better to do it that way, in his view, than use a national, like the Insurrection Act, and then just go in and maybe involve all 50 states getting pissed at him, or at least a large number of them, and causing more havoc. Having said that, he's not a patient man. So he has talked about doing it. It's clear he's thinking about it. But for those who want to know why he hasn't yet, that's why. It's actually better for him, assuming the court's going to rule the way he wants it to, and I suspect it will, making me wonder if Clarence Thomas is on the Epstein, or I wouldn't surprise me at this point. At any rate, he thinks the court's going to rule his way, so he's willing to do this the long way because it's going to be much easier in the long run than pulling out the Insurrection Act. But I think he's getting sick and tired of these losses, and he just wants civil war to start tomorrow, and it's taking too long. So we'll see. Any final thoughts, Xandring, before we go?
Pure speculative commentary. I think that he's deploying National Guard in this way for two reasons. One of them is to distract attention away from things like the Epstein files.
Yeah.
The other one is to normalize sending federal troops to different cities for whatever reason he says, because of unrest or civilian uprising or rioting or any of these other things, which may not actually be happening. There's not really much evidence that anything of significance is actually happening, but he's using that as an excuse. And I think one of the reasons that he may not be pushing so hard as far as, like, okay, I'm going to follow what the judges are saying. I'll tweet about it a lot. I'll talk about other things, but the goal isn't necessarily to get them there at all costs. The goal is to normalize deploying them into the cities.
That's
and
a
I think
really
that
good
he's
point.
trying to set it up so that it's now, normal to send, or isn't remarked on as much. Oh, there Trump goes sending more National Guard here or there, everywhere. Once it gets normalized, then he can start using it in any way he wants to, just by saying, oh, things are getting out of hand over here, and there's too much violence here, and so we're sending these people in, because in reality they're just resisting what he wants to do, or is, he's going to start using them for personal political reasons and then justifying it. And you have to start that process off fairly slowly. You have to first normalize sending National Guard troops all over the place for these kinds of reasons, because in living memory this has not happened.
Yep.
For these reasons. So sure, National Guard was deployed several times for different protests for like the Vietnam War, but again, in living memory, we haven't used the National Guard this way. So he's got to kind of normalize their use. And once he's got that normalized, he can use any pretext he wants and do pretty much whatever he wants. I would never tolerate this from a Democrat. We're doing this. Had Kamala won, I would be screaming from the rooftops, no, this is not okay. You do not want to have the head of the executive have this much power to do these kinds of things inside the United States against American citizens, especially ones who are exercising their right to protest the actions of their government. And I sure as hell don't support it when Trump does it either. This is the whole problem I've had, and it's becoming a theme with Trump too, all the way from the first time he tried this, sending out federal agents in mom vans, literal rented minivans, to abduct people off the street without saying anything, just showing up in full military kit with very small little patches that say police, and that's it. Just showing up and abducting people off the street and then disappearing them. Now, he actually let them go hours later, but we still didn't know what happened to them
Yep.
at all. They just disappeared. And this is continuing. It's even escalating. He's now sending entire freaking I'm not super up on the divisions of the National Guard because the Navy doesn't use those same terms, but I don't want to say a platoon or a company. Well, a company I think is bigger than a platoon. I don't know what the sizes are. I'm getting hung up on that. But he's sending entire groups of National Guard to places now. And he's within his legal rights to do so to protect federal property. But as soon as they start cordoning off and pushing people, blocks away from the building, especially when they're not physically attacking the building, he's starting to get into some really dicey territory there as far as legality. And I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. And you certainly don't get to just send them in to do any kind of policing work. This is illegal. And we should not tolerate. I mean, we should be up in arms. I should be careful how we phrase that. We should be screaming at all of our government officials, especially our state officials. Do not allow this.
Let me answer a question in the live chat because I've been thinking about the same thing. Why don't the police stand up and defend the citizens? And part of me's been like, yeah, I'd really like to see that. The other problem is, though, as soon as that happens, you're almost by definition in a civil war because you have the police defending people from the federal government. That's a really dicey situation. I've also asked, why don't you get individuals who are good people to stand up and say, oh, what he did was wrong. And anyone who's been in a combat situation knows this. I think anybody there's any number of situations that you can end up with this problem. But I will give the best example that I know because I wrote the biography for a man by the name of 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐴, who was a psychiatrist working at Walpole Maximum Security Prison for 10 years. And when he first got there, there wasn't... he's retired now. Back then, especially, they didn't really take psychology they weren't interested in it. And they thought it was a joke. And at one point, four inmates locked themselves into their cells and had booby-trapped the cells, one of them urinating on the floor and then taking wires from an electrical socket so that the person who came in, they just, boom, dropped the wires. So a team was about to go in and clear each of these rooms, which is a very dangerous activity because they are armed. The inmates are armed. They find ways to arm themselves. And one of the corrections officers had lost an eye doing this the prior year, and it's just one of those things. There's a lot of violence, and it's very dangerous. And Jack said, mind if I take a shot at de-escalating it? And he's actually required to be given the chance. So they said, yeah, sure, but be quick about it. And he goes and he talks to the guy, and he finds out that what the primary complaint is that one of the officers didn't like the inmate, and so he was taking the inmate's mail, opening it, finding pictures of his family, finding pictures of his girlfriend, and drawing obscene drawings on those pictures before giving them to the inmate. Talk about escalation. But he didn't like the inmate, and so the guard's doing this. And so, in solidarity with the people who thought that the guard was abusive, these inmates all decided that they were going to take a stand, and they were going to take the consequences of it, which was surely going to be a beating, but they might also do some damage to the officers. So my buddy's just like, this is unacceptable. No, I will make sure that this gets reported and goes to the proper, because this endangers all of us. We're all looking at a situation where somebody could get really hurt or killed. I will take a look at this. If you agree to surrender, you cuff up now. You surrender. I'll get this taken care of. I'm making it a lot shorter than it actually was. Gets that done. They all surrender. And everyone's just and first of all, most of the team going in is now pissed because they geared up for nothing. and their adrenaline was pumping, and they were like, yeah, we're about to go kick some ass. And so they're actually pissed at him for this. He goes, files a report. 2 weeks later, he's walking down one of the tiers. Hasn't realized yet that he's the only person there. All the security guards are missing. As he's going down, he hears a bell. It's the bell that rings. It's actually a clack-on sound. It's when one of the cells is opened. And the cell in front of him, a guy who's serving 12 life sentences, cell just swings open. Guy, 300, 400 pounds, comes waddling out. Looks at my friend there and says, oh, Jack, got any cigarettes? Cursor, he knows he doesn't have any on him. No, sorry. Okay. Goes back in and finishes watching Jerry Springer. Jack looks, he can see the good control room, but he can't see who's in it. But somebody in it made sure that that door opened right as Jack was walking by. So Jack learned a lesson, which is that everybody here feels that everybody's job, number one job there, is to watch each other's back, no matter how corrupt anybody is, no matter how much somebody's endangering everybody, no matter what. Watch everybody's back, or a door is going to open and somebody's going to have been paid to make sure that you don't come out of there alive. Accidents happen. So that's why this kind of corruption is so hard to stop. That's why good people who are in the police, who are in the National Guard, who did not join up for this, can't really do much about it. Who are you going to complain to, by the way? Especially in an administration that Trump has made crystal clear. He doesn't want to hear complaints. He doesn't want people to talk about facts or reality. Those are things he really wants nowhere near him. What he wants is to get things done, whatever those things are. That's it. So, anyways, that's the best story I know of how and why good people end up in situations where they want to say something. But it's, especially in situations like this, it is far more dangerous than you might think for the police, ICE, anybody to speak up. So, yeah, anyways. All right, thank you all for watching. We're going to keep an eye on it. Like I said, we're expecting major consequences in terms of flights tomorrow to start piling up. And then by the 15th, military retirees won't be getting benefits or checks. And we'll see how it snowballs from there. I forget what the longest U.S. government shutdown is, but usually when they start, both sides are aware that they have to stop it pretty quickly. And right now what I'm seeing is two sides that are more entrenched than I've ever seen in any government shutdown. They are serious about what it is they're trying to get. And for each of them, it's something very, very different. So that's it. Thank you all. 𝐒𝐨𝐻𝐿, if you give your traditional sign off, well, you don't give that anymore. So you're good with that. So
I came up with a new one though.
Oh, okay, please.
Yeah. May you live in interesting times.
That's not a new one. That's the same one.
No, it's new.
How is it new?
Yes, I said it with a different inflection. It's a new way of saying it for me.
Where's the button for 𝐒𝐶? Let's see if this works. There we go. All right, his shield is down. Unfortunately, I can still hear him, but I don't think anyone else can. Yep, he's muted. Sweet. I'm going to have to thank Dave. Dave got one right. Did Dave get one right? Titan, mark the date. Dave got one. 𝐒𝐶's shield came down and nobody can hear him. Okay, I'm going to bring this shield back up.
That's
there you go.
Funny.
Have you learned your lesson?
Cancel culture.
Okay, there you go. we won't get into that like inception now. We cancel it. The guy say cancel it. All right, all. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Chungus, for becoming a member and for let me just make sure that I didn't miss anyone and the gifted 5 memberships. And we look forward. Our next scheduled show is Thursday, 9 p.m. With Commander Lance McMillan, but we will almost certainly have breaking before then. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we will see you see you soon, I'm sure. Have a good night all.